Hey guys, this is Captain Latios back again. I hope you've all gotten to the hope you all have gotten used to that static at the beginning, which has been plaguing the past two videos, but I really hope that there's no static in this one. So we have here what we have here is a Little Cup battle. Uh, After I saw the Little Cup, I created a little team with some suggestions from Pokemon Showdown and Smogon. And it worked pretty well, even though I didn't upload many of my Little Cup battles onto the replay database. But this is one of my better battles. And like I promised, this is the Little Cup battle that I promised in the last video. And so let's just start right off. On my team, I have a Mienfoo, Tortuga, Carvana, Magnemite, Arcan, and Fletchling, while he has an Abra, Axew, Zorua, Krogunk, Fletchling, and a Litleo. And so, my team, I know that my Little Cup team really isn't the best, but under like a 10-minute time constraint on a day when I wanted to create a Little Cup battle for a tournament, uh, I really didn't do that bad. So, alright, let's get this started. So, first off, I sent out my Fletchling as an anticipation for all of his Pokemon. And so he sent out the Krogunk. And so I was like, since it's poison fighting, I might as well go for acrobatics, right? But of course, the Krogunk turns out to be a Zorua in disguise, and it's minus 45%, which is a pretty good percentage. But he uses Night Daze, and he gets 91%. And I really wasn't expecting that, but it's the best I can do, I guess. And so what happened is, since I don't since Fletchling can't do much anymore, I kept him in as death fodder, and I switched, and the Zorua used U-turn, which took out my Fletchling, the final 14 or 13%. And so the Zorua goes back and sends out the Fletchling, and since he switches out first, I can go with the Magnemite, which I want to use Volt Switch to counter the Fletchling. But since the Fletchling is faster than me, it actually uses U-turn first, and so does some damage, 15%, which isn't very much, but it's more than more than I anticipated. And so he sends out the Krogunk again, and sends out the Krogunk, but this time it's not the Zorua, since when I used Volt Switch, it did 68%, which is a very good percentage with my Volt Switch. And since my Magnemite's faster than Krogunk, I can go for the Tortuga. I can switch out to the Tortuga and get the Aqua Jet in. And with one Aqua Jet, his Krogunk goes down. So now it's 5 on 5. 5 Pokemon on 5 Pokemon. And so he decides to send out the Fletchling, probably going for a U-turn. But what I didn't anticipate was that the Fletchling was actually a Zorua, and I didn't anticipate that, and I used Stone Edge anyway. But regardless, it actually took out his Zorua, the remaining 55% of the Zorua's HP, and it was actually pretty good. Got some pretty good damage, even though my Tortuga is down 39% and with 0.75 times accuracy. And I wanted to leave my Tortuga in since switching him out would not be a very good idea. So I decided to use some Stealth Rock to damage his Fletchling the most and get some extra damage on the other Pokemon too, since he still has 4 Pokemon. And so he goes for the chance to use Aqua Jet. He goes for the chance to use Dragon Dance 2 times, and I try to go for the Scald to burn him, but it doesn't work, and so I switch out anyway. And I decide to send out the Magnemite, since Dragon is weak on Steel, but he decides to use Dual Chop. And I'm really lucky that the Dual Chop missed, since I thought it was going to take me out, but instead he uses superpower since he outspeeds me with the 2 times speed, and with 1 superpower he's down. The good thing is he has my 0.67 times defense, but the bad thing is that my main defense wall Magnemite is down. So I decided to go back to the Tortuga to just as some death fodder and just to do some extra damage, as much damage as I can do. And so I go for the Aqua Jet since it might do more than the Scald, and as it turns out, it does do more than the Scald. So because I'm faster than the Axew, so. And I do it again, use the Aqua Jet since he's still faster than me, and it actually does a critical hit. But it turns out that the Axew has an Oran Berry, and so with another dual chop, he takes me out, and he actually had more health than he did before, even though it was because of an Oran Berry. So now it's 3-4. Prospects are looking pretty bad since he has this Axew out. So I decided to send out my my offensive guy, Mienfu. And so I used the Fake Out, which is known for in Little Cup for substantial damage. And so the 33% didn't disappoint me, and it did some substantial damage. And I know he's faster than me, but I don't think he can take me out with a dual chop, and he won't risk the superpower again. And so I just decide to use Drain Punch and gain back as much health as I can. And it turns out that it actually took out the Axew, the remaining 48%, or how much ever. And that was unexpected, but it was very good. And uh, meanwhile, though, he sends out the Abra, and I know that I can't face the Abra with the Mienfu, so I decided to switch out for the sorry. I decided to switch out for the Carvana since I know he's going to use a Psychic move. And it turns out that, yes, he does go for the Psyshock, and I anticipated it very well, and so it doesn't affect my Carvana. But he decides to switch out his Abra, and since I thought he would have had some grass or a fairy move, I went for the Destiny Bond, since I was expecting him to go for a move that would have took me out in one hit. But it turns out he switched out, so my Destiny Bond was not effective at all. And so so I decided to, since I have the speed boost, even though the speed boost doesn't do much, he decides to go for the Tailwind for the double speed, and I go for the Waterfall, and just one hit takes the Fletchling out, which is good for since my Carvana has a Life Orb, it took the Fletchling out. And since now I have 2 times speed on my Carvana, which is pretty good, I keep the Carvana in. But he decides to send out the Abra, and with the Tailwind, as expected, he has a Dazzling Gleam, and with just a Dazzling Gleam, he takes out my Carvana, since he outspeeds me with the Tailwind. Which, it's pretty bad, because that was my main wall for Psychic types. But now that can't be helped, so I'm holding back my Mienfu for the Arcan, and he used a Dazzling Gleam, but it only does 44%, and I go for a Rock Slide, which I don't know how much damage it'll do, but it turns out it actually does 95% damage to the Abra, which is really totally unexpected for my Arcan, since it has never done that kind of thing before. And since I expect the Rock Slide to hit again, I use Rock Slide, and it takes out the remaining 5%. Even though my Arcan's probably going to be used as death fodder now. So now it's 2-1, but I don't know what the Litleo has since I've never faced a Litleo before. So I decided to keep my Arcan in as death fodder, and just to see what the Litleo's capabilities were. And so the Stealth Rock takes out a 23%, which is pretty good. I decided to go for the Rock Slide, but instead, he uses Flame Charge. He raises his speed, and he removes my Arcan, which was pretty bad in my case. But I didn't know, because I didn't know if I could take him out with Mienfu or not, even though his normal type was weak against my fighting types, since he has Moxie. But I decided to go for the Fake Out, since it always does some pretty substantial damage, and 23% is pretty substantial. Even though he has 1.5 times speed and 1.5 times attack, I'm sure he won't take me out with just one Flame Charge. And so, as expected, it only does 43% damage. And so I used one Drain Punch, and the super effective move gets him minus 55%, and that's it. So his last Pokemon is taken down. So, so I won this battle, but it was a very close battle since I didn't really know who would win and who would lose. My opponent had a pretty good team, a pretty well-designed team. Uh, I'd say my team is okay, but it's not the best. I'm kind of too lazy to um, like edit my team. I think it's okay, good enough for the time being. If I really want to edit it, I'll go ahead and go into the team builder and edit it. But for now, I think I'll keep my little cup team. And so with my offensive Mienfoo, I took down his Pokemon and I won the battle. And so this was for me, Little Cup was new at that time, so for me this was an exhilarating battle. And it's one of my best competitive battles since it was only 1-0. So I really enjoyed the battle, and I might consider doing some battles where I lose instead of win, since the past three I've only done winning battles. Uh, I have some prospects in my replays for losing battles, uh, but I'm still not sure which battle type I should use. Maybe I'll even try creating a PU or a UU team for some PU or UU action. But for now, I think I'll stick with the Ubers and the OU and stuff like that. So, uh, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye.